Our great friend, Michael Harrison, Talkers.com, Talkers Magazine, the keeper of the flame, I like to call you, sir. Good to have you with us once again.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on the show, Kevin.
You know, you've covered talk radio for many, many years. 28 years of Talkers?
Talkers is 28 now. Yeah.
28 years.
Yeah, hard to believe.
Hard to believe. You know what I love about you is you tell the stories of the people that could be polarizing, that are the old town criers. And I always come back to you on this. I really love how you identified young people at the very beginning. And we'll go to our old friend Sean Hannity. You know, Sean's been doing this for years. A lot of people just found him, whether it's on TV or radio or the internet and stuff, but seeing how people have grown throughout the years.
Oh, yeah. Well, 28 years in a field where the average life expectancy is 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
You know, you hear about the guys that are on for a long time,
Right.
the people, the men and the women who broadcast, but you don't hear about the ones that are laboring in obscurity
Right.
and the ones that don't make it. It's like sports. You know, most people don't make it. Theater, most people don't make it.
Right.
It's a tough field, very tough field, and especially today, even for the big ones.
Well, and before we get to the big ones, what about the folks here, 65, almost 70 hosts, but each in their own community, each a vital part of the discussion, each probably a follow of the Harrison theorems, if you will.
Well, I mean, we do have, a connection to almost every host in the country.
Right.
But an event like this is particularly cool because local hosts, I think, connect with their communities better than national ones do. So when you have 65 of them, I mean, some are national here, obviously,
Right.
but there are a lot of local hosts here. And they really, local is the only reality. There's no national reality. That's an abstraction. But you live where you live is where the action is. That's where you feel the street. That's where the city council meetings have much more impact on your life
Right.
than something that happens in Congress.
Well, and that's the fascinating part, because people have come to you over the years, and we'll do a little inside talk radio here where they say, I want to be the next such and such. I want to be syndicated. As you have taught me, and I've tried to follow, the real magic is the local community. That's where you make the biggest difference and can have the biggest impact.
That's where you also can have the most security because you have friends, you know the people. Having goodwill in a reasonably large city. We're not talking about a place that has 10 people.
Sure.
But the cities that are here, your city, having goodwill from a business standpoint, where people know you, that's gold.
Right.
That's gold, especially in today's noisy world. It's very hard to get a following. It's very hard to be known in today's world with so much social media and so many people are on the internet and everybody's going, like me, look at me, follow me, me.
Right.
It's tough.
Has social media, has the digital platform helped or hurt talk radio?
Both. Social media is a tool, and like all disruptive technology, new technology, it has the potential for good and the potential for bad. No technology is inherently good or bad. Nuclear power. Look at that.
Right.
Pencil. You can poke your eye out with it, or you could write the next Bible.
Right.
It's all how you use the technology. And communications technology has become so advanced in the last 20 years, last 5 years, last 5 minutes, that those of us in communications have to really understand it, learn it, and realize that we can't ride on it for its own sake. We have to still bring something to the table.
Right. Michael Harrison joining us, our old friend here, KIDO Talk Radio. You've always been very great to me in my career, my rise, and always appreciate that. Let's get back to the local hosts, making that difference. It's easier said than done, and the difference between, let's say, being a national host, which, we have a lot of national hosts on our station, and versus a local personality, being able to afford a local personality, the economics of local versus national.
Isn't it interesting? It actually costs more to have local hosts than it does to have national hosts. People may think, that's the big station. It has Rush Limbaugh. That's the big one. It has Howard Stern.
Right.
But no, it's actually more expensive and takes more effort to have local hosts than it does to have national. National hosts are a little inside baseball here for the listeners, although I think people are savvy and know it. National hosts are a cost-cutting measure.
Sure. It is, and again, as much as we love our national hosts, they don't know Boise from Kuna, from Napa Valley, and the like. How can you've covered the? Let's go to Rush Limbaugh and the '94 Congress. Are we living in similar times with President Trump? I mean, that was that, and you're going to correct me because was that the pinnacle of talk radio? And I'm going to answer your question for you, Kevin. That's never the pinnacle. We continue to get stronger and stronger.
Well, the pinnacle is now. I mean, I don't know about pinnacles because it's very hard to measure the apples and oranges of one time into another. Let's go back to sports. Who was better? The baseball players of the 30s or now?
Right.
Time is a very, very powerful component in measuring pertinence. So I would say the now is always the most important. I'm very much a proponent of the now. I think you have to understand history and know it. But, golden ages and all of that, that's only from perspective. What I will say is the book of Trump, because we're in the Trump age.
Yes.
This is definitely the Trump age. The book of Trump has yet to be written. Anybody who will proclaim what now is all about from a perspective of cause and effect, its place in the continuum of time, which will continue to pass.
Sure.
Is talking through their hat.
Right. Michael Harrison joining us, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, talkers.com. You want to know what's going on in talk radio, the impact it has, talkers.com, the old Talkers magazine. Boy.
Yeah, we still call it that. I don't want. We're not a website. It's Talkers magazine that's
right.
on a website.
Right.
And what's a website? Yeah, there's apps. There are
platforms.
podcasts. There are
right.
platforms. It's you got to think about what it is you are as opposed to where you are, what you are.
What about living the dream? You've lived your dream.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to people right now?
To live a dream?
To live their dream.
Oh, just do it. But I'm not into self-help cliches. There's a million books out there. Look. Just do it, okay?
Sure.
Colin Kaepernick is now in the news, so it brings Nike back. These are all Madison Avenue cliches. The fact is, stay alive, stay healthy, be good to your family, be good
right.
to your friends, deal with people one-on-one, be in the moment. Don't you can dream, but don't let your dreams become your reality. And the key to being happy is appreciate and enjoy what you have.
Right.
Don't be a malcontent that I'm not getting what I deserve or that's the road to hell.
Well, the balance between your professional life and your personal life. You're right. I don't know where the show became Dr. Phil, but let's talk about the politics of talk radio. A lot of people have gone after talk radio, Media Matters, and the like. Sometimes we're an endangered species. You're more positive on it.
They've gone after conservative talk radio.
Well, I don't think there's any other.
Well, there is. There's sports talk radio. There's talk shows on music stations that get into all kinds of issues. There are a lot of people on news talk radio that don't do politics but are part of the fabric of the format. And there are hosts that have different levels of opinion in terms of the spectrum of left to right.
Sure.
So I as the publisher of Talkers magazine, am resistant to anybody taking that term talk radio
right.
and pigeonholing it into something that Media Matters would go after.
On the other hand, you've had people go after high profile and local hosts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Does that concern you?
Well, no, it's part of what comes with being controversial. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the government does not have the power to censor you. It doesn't mean that people have to just, take what you have to say without some feedback.
I wish they would.
You just want to be uncontested?
I love Amen Radio,
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. I mean, that's, preach to the choir. Forget it. I think it's great that we have groups that attack talk radio. I think, come on, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
If you want to get out there and stir up stir it up, you've got to be prepared for people to push back.
Exactly.
That's part of the game.
That's what's happening to poor Judge Kavanaugh today. They're pushing back.
Well, and sometimes the pushback only worsens the cause. A lot of people on the left don't realize that the way they're reacting to the right now is only strengthening Trump's base. It's not helping their cause.
Right.
There's lots of philosophies about how to resist Trump. And one of them, the best one I could say to give advice to anybody that wants to resist Trump is let it play itself out. Let it play out.
Well, I don't think we're not in the resist Trump audience. That's
But
not really
I know
ours.
that, but I'm talking above the fray.
Right.
I'm saying the advice I would give those people that are creating such a stir is you're not helping your cause by doing it. You'd be better off just letting it play out. Let the results be the judge. The man was elected.
Right.
You'll create more trouble if you're successful removing him and destroying his presidency than if you really believe he's that bad, have confidence that he'll destroy himself. Otherwise, let him be successful and we'll all be better. That's all I'm saying. I'm speaking in a objective way. It's
Sure.
not part. I know that's rare these days, but that's what I do for a living.
Well, we don't do that over here. But anyway, our great friend Michael Harrison joining us.
Why are they taking me out now with a hook?
Talkers Magazine, talkers.com. Final question. Donald Trump years ago had a minute feature, and he was on several radio stations. Would he be a good talk show host? And if you were his boss, his program director, could you handle Donald Trump? Would he is he great talk show host material?
He already is a talk show host. He's the greatest reality show star of all time. He's running his life and his administration like a mega talk show. No, of course, Donald Trump would be fabulous. Would I leave him alone? I wouldn't try to control him. I would be happy to have him. And if he were successful, I'd keep him there. And if he were unsuccessful, I'd fire him. You're fired. I'd fire Donald Trump, but no, the whole art of having great talent is not to micromanage them. Who the hell would I be? If I have the smarts to hire a great talent, let them be a talent. Maybe encourage them, maybe give them some input if it could help them a little bit. But no. Anybody who has to be managed and directed down to the cellular level shouldn't be on the radio.
Our man, Michael Harrison, talkers.com, Talkers Magazine. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure to be with you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning, joined by Dale Jackson, talk show host extraordinaire, a gentleman who knows how to really own a town in the North Alabama, southern province of Tennessee, Huntsville, Alabama, one of the most conservative areas in the country. Always enjoy talking to Dale. Always want to get his perspective because, now, Dale, you're a conservative, but you're not down with Trump.
I wouldn't say I'm not down with Trump.
You hate Trump.
I did write a piece for YellowHammerNews.com, a website I work for, where I did say he should resign if he cares about the issues.
You're urging Donald Trump to resign?
The point of it was that I was suggesting that if he truly believed the things he had said before the campaign,
right,
and he wanted them to be accomplished, he should maybe step aside and let some other people drive the train. I'm not saying that he should, or I think he should. It was a point that the way he has become so divisive and the people around him have become such a problem for him, Manafort and Cohen and all these other people, he has just become, I think, a damaged, marginalized figure, and it would be more successful. His agenda would be more successful if he was not leading it.
Sure, that's a little too articulate for our program here.
So I called for him to resign.
Right, thank you. Let's just
and I hate him.
Right, there we have it.
Okay, so there we go.
All kidding aside, though, you've been on national TV espousing these issues. What's the feedback you've been getting from people? Because in your state, it's Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump,
absolutely.
I would imagine.
No, number one place, highest approval rating for anywhere in the country. One of the congressional districts that borders, actually my show covers, is the number one Trump district in the country. I've been on national television referring to Trump as a prick. I have said things of that nature, and I believe it. I like his policies. Not a big fan of the man. The feedback is not always good. But
yeah, right, but here's another one. Didn't you get thrown out of the White House briefing when you were Skyping?
I didn't get thrown out, no.
Didn't they disconnect you or something like
that?
No.
See, and that's the whole thing. I'm down with the cause.
I heard that's what my sources tell me, that you were put on the list after that. What did you do? Please clarify.
I didn't do anything. No, see, this is the thing. At the White House briefing, I asked a question that they should have loved. They didn't have an issue with. The people who had an issue with it were the reporters in the room.
Right.
And I had multiple ones of them call me grumbling. How dare you say that the press is in some sort of bubble? How dare you say such a thing? And I'm like, we're having this conversation. Sounds like a stuck pig squeals. So it sounds like you guys got exactly what I was saying. And
sure.
And I think it's been borne out since then. My question was just about when are you going to do something about immigration? You've been talking about this whole time. You promised it. When are you going to do something about it?
Right.
And they weren't mad at me at all.
I thought it was your language or something like that.
That's probably right.
Right. Talk show host.
Look, we have a 7-second delay for a reason, and I believe I'm sort of a crass person at times.
Right. In the era of civility, you're crass.
Well, it kills. Trump supporters love to talk about civility. I don't think most can spell it.
Right.
And I think that if they're going to sit here and tell me to be civil, well, the President of the United States is calling Jeff Sessions mentally retarded. I'm not going to listen. And he denies. I got it.
Right. Well, hold on. Yes, Dale, fake news. Hashtag fake news here. He's denied saying that's from Bob Woodward. And, okay, let's find something we agree on. Jeff Sessions.
Super fan of Jeff Sessions. Yeah. Trump needs to understand that he is the MVP of the Trump administration. He should be 100% behind him at all times. I think Sessions recused himself because he knows Trump did nothing wrong.
So for the people in Idaho, because they give me a hard time, your best Jeff Sessions story, why is he a man of integrity? I had a chance, like you, to cover him, known him for years. Everybody else, including Sean Hannity, is not down with Jeff Sessions anymore. Tell us why Jeff Sessions is good.
You want the best Jeff Sessions story? It's a Trump story, too. I asked him, what are you doing? When he first came out, he was the first guy to get behind Donald Trump. And I said to him, what are you doing? And he said, the only guy up there that cares about illegal immigration up on that stage for real, it's Donald Trump. And that's why I'm behind him. And I said, do you truly believe that he's behind me? He said, on that issue, absolutely. I said, what about tariffs? And he goes, I don't believe he's going to do the tariffs. I mean, he's saying, right. He's basically like, he compartmentalized the things that he wanted done,
right,
and he believed him on, and the other stuff he thought Trump was just running around, running his mouth. And I give Sessions credit for being a true believer. Which, by the way, makes the Trump stuff so much worse because he was a true believer. He was a legitimizer. When Sessions got on board, I said, okay, maybe I can get with Trump.
Right. But then you've left our president.
No, I'm still there. I voted for him. I'll vote for him again if the same.
But you criticize the great leader.
Well, I mean, you're supposed to. You're supposed to.
It depends on how much you really love America.
Listen, if you're a prick, I'm going to call you a prick.
Oh, my goodness. So I don't know if we use that term in Idaho.
No, look it up.
Wow.
Don't look it up on your work computer.
Then I'll have to look on how to spell civility. Dale Jackson joining us from WVNN in Huntsville, Alabama. Always a pleasure to have him on. So what do you make? What's the skinny here for this? What have you learned when you've talked to these folks? Because, again, you're a contrarian. You're a hater.
I'm a hater.
Fellow hater.
Yeah.
So what have you brought back to your people?
Well, I think the message here is that the fight on immigration still goes on. And while all this other chaos is happening, you can speak to members of Congress, and they can tell you, we're still up there working on this. This stuff is still an issue. You talk to the people, and they know that across the country, it's still an issue.
Right. The illegals are still running wild.
They're still running wild. The jihadis are coming in through the southern border. I mean, all this stuff it's a real issue. And the mainstream media gives you the message that children are being locked in cages for fun, and Jeff Sessions is down there poking them with sticks and stuff, and while they're in these cages, and that's the only thing you're going to get. And so talk radio sort of acts as a pushback against it. This week gives us an opportunity to actually control the story and say, here's what's actually happening, as opposed to reacting to what's happening.
More coming up with Dale Jackson in a minute. I know you're like on the air right now.
Yeah,
Do you have to go? Or
whatever.
You good?
You got to keep in mind, my whole goal in life is to do as little talk radio as possible.
Really?
Yes.
And still be a talk show host.
4-hour show.
Right.
I think I talk a total of 17 minutes a day.
I could learn a lot from you.
Yeah, it's a gift.
More coming up here at KIDO Talk Radio 828. Traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave.
7's Eric Everett.
And Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, I do want to thank Dale Jackson for joining us. Appreciate him. Coming up, Senator Risch, Senator Crapo, and more of your call. Well, let's go to Max. Do we have time for Max in Garden City? Max, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Max.
Good morning. I hope you're enjoying it up there in humid land.
I'm ready to come home west of the Great River.
No, I can't wait to get you back. Listen, I just want to take a minute to thank all of those Democrats. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart because your get out the vote action is really bringing Republicans to their feet. Understand, this is not a pessimistic view, it's optimistic. America is looking at a brilliant future because you can hear the Democratic death rattle right now. They've become so disjointed, so over the top, so uncoordinated even among their own groups. The Democratic Party is dying. It's a death rattle, and they are bringing out the vote. The man you interviewed just a moment ago, the talk radio guy, the magazine fella,
I
disagree with him. Trump is not damaged goods.
Yeah, well, no,
Your
that's
war
Dale.
horse
Hold
has
on.
taken a few hits.
That's right. That's Dale Jackson, Max, and
Yes.
Dale doesn't like to back down from anybody. He's back with us right now, and
Dale?
maybe you'd like to, maybe you give him a piece of your
Absolutely.
mind about how he's bashing Trump and how un-American he is.
Well, no, I don't think
You
no,
are,
I don't
Dale.
think you're
I
an
get-
American. I don't think you're
Right.
an American, but I think when you describe him as damaged goods, you don't realize that this old war horse has got 6 more years in him. He's got more than that.
Yeah,
so
Dale.
he's made some mistakes. He's
He may not
done
have
more
6
than
more
any
weeks in
president in your living memory or mine.
Hey, I can be happy with what he does and still wonder why
Yeah.
he's doing some of the other stuff he does. We are in agreement on the issues. We are not in agreement on the effectiveness and the style. And if he can continue delivering, I'll vote for the guy. But I think he can do a better job of being president of the United States and still get done the agenda everybody wants to see without causing all those problems. And by the way, the problems he's causing is not just problems for him. He's causing problems for a bunch of congressmen who support him, and he's causing them issues across the board, and that's the real problem here, and we'll see that in 2018. And I know you'll get this guy to call back in after the midterms, and he'll say, well, Trump wasn't on the ballot. That's why they lost the midterms. 2020, MAGA, or CAGA, or whatever the hell we're calling it. That's where that's heading.
Max, I'm going to let you respond to Mr. Jackson because
Okay.
I am so upset right now. I don't know who
Mr.
booked this
Jackson.
guy.
Donald Trump is doing things wrong, but that's because he's not batting 1,000. He's not making every perfect decision. What you have is somebody who is raised outside of the swamp, bred outside of the swamp. He's not one of them. He doesn't do it like they do it. I would say this, by their fruits, you shall know them.
Yeah, no, it's look. When I go to the doctor, I walk in and say, "Hey, who's the least experienced guy here? That's the guy I want cutting on me." I mean, that's what I do, and then it makes complete sense that we do that with the president of the United States. I think he surrounded him. I think he surrounded himself. Look, I think he surrounded himself with a lot of great people. I just wish he'd listen to him. That's what we keep hearing. That he's not.
Look at the
listening.
results, Dale.
I'm in on the results, man. But
Right.
I'm telling you,
Look, why is Dale yelling at us, Max?
because there's some loud idiots next to us. I mean, there's no joke. And I'm the loud idiot on the other side. I mean, just that's the way we are.
Hey, Dale, thank you.
Yeah, anytime. I think I should come on your show more.
You should, Max.
Once a week. Once a week.
I'm with you, Max. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
All right, you're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
And we're joined by Senator Crapo, who had a chance to talk to Judge Kavanaugh. Senator Crapo, good to have you with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin.
So we take a look at what's going on with Judge Kavanaugh, your colleagues in the Senate, getting a lot of buzz. Your thoughts, and what do you think of the judge, sir?
Well, first of all, we are in our 3rd day now of hearings. We should wrap up the hearings on his nomination by the end of this week. It's been very contentious. It's no surprise. There have been protesters every day. I think they did arrest over 70 of them yesterday and 70 of them the day before. Those trying to disrupt the hearing, and it goes on out in the hallways and across the country. Really, the attacks on him are the standard attacks that we've seen for the last number of nominees. I mean, they are saying that he doesn't like women, he doesn't like children, and he doesn't like men, and he doesn't like elderly people, and he doesn't like young people or middle-aged people. I mean, the attacks just continue.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mike, he likes you and I.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, Jim.
How are you?
Good. But, the reality is that he is right out of central casting. I think it's fair to say you couldn't have found a more qualified judge. You asked how I felt about him. I think he's outstanding. I didn't think that President Trump could find anybody better than Gorsuch, and I'm not going to say that he's better, but he's every bit as good as Gorsuch, and we've got 2 phenomenal nominees now, one a justice and hopefully another one being a justice. The American Bar Association has ranked him unanimously well qualified, and they aren't, a harbinger of conservative focus. And I'll just finish with this. There's all these attacks on him, but very little focus on his record. He's been a judge on the D.C. Circuit for 12 years. That's the same circuit that Merrick Garland, President Obama's nominee, is on. It's a circuit that has 7 active Democrat-appointed nominees by a Democrat president and 4 members appointed by a Republican. The point being, it's if anything, a court balanced more heavily toward Democratic president nominees, and yet he has voted with that court's majority 97% of the time. And of the 2.7% of the time that he has dissented, many of his dissents have been actually adopted by the United States Supreme Court majority as established law and the proper line of reasoning. So I could go on and on. It's an intense battle. It will continue to go on, but I think we have an outstanding jurist who is committed to interpreting the Constitution as it was written and not to making law or being an activist judge.
Mike, thanks for keeping your civility on this. You know, I watched the protesters in there, and you and I see them in all our committees, and you just kind of shake your head as to what. I guess it makes them feel all right, but it certainly doesn't move the needle for anybody that's sitting there. Nobody there is impressed by this sort of thing. So
no, and I appreciate you saying that, Jim. In fact, when they stand up, they've got it kind of timed, where they just do it in one or two at a time. They stand up and scream and yell epithets and things like that. And the things they say aren't even related to what we're talking about in the hearing. And in fact, often they're not even related to anything other than we just hate Trump. So, I mean, it's really an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, you know, it really is. We get the same thing on the Intelligence Committee. Fortunately, we don't hold that many open meetings on the Intelligence Committee. But what are they, Code Pink or what have you? The ladies that come in dressed like Pepto-Bismol, and they do the same thing. You know, one raises heck and then the other one does, and it's just, that's anarchy. That's not what America's all about. You know, we have civil discourse. Everybody gets their chance to talk, and then we vote.
Yeah, and the thing, it kind of got leaked out over last weekend that this is all coordinated. This isn't just spontaneous protest. Yeah. It's very well orchestrated and operating.
Well, Senator Crapo, we appreciate the update. We know you've got to get back to the committee, and we'll talk to you soon, sir.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you're quite welcome. It's tough, when we've got the celebrity co-host here. So.
Well, I'll tell you, your conversation is in good hands, I can tell. Two outstanding guys. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Senator Crapo joining us. Senator Risch joining us right now. I was going to say welcome home. But,
thanks, I appreciate that. You're fortunate to have Mike on. Mike is one of just an outstanding senator. I've been here now 10 years and watched the dynamics with Mike. He and I go back a long ways. I'd been in the state senate 10 years when he showed up.
Right.
And then he and I served on the leadership team there in the state senate. Then he left and came back here. And when I got to the U.S. Senate, he'd been here 10 years. And it's just been really heartwarming to watch Mike operate in the United States Senate. We're all human beings. We all have different ways of doing things, of presenting and what have you. Mike doesn't speak regularly, but when he speaks, people listen carefully to what he has to say. And of course, he's chairman now of a banking committee, and he's a very distinguished person representing Idaho here in the United States Senate.
Senator Risch with us. Senator, before we get to the news of the day, a lot of change going on in Idaho. You've seen a lot of change in your lifetime in the state. We haven't had a chance to get your thoughts on just everybody moving in. I mean, when you come home, you drive around in your truck. You love that. But all the new people moving in, your thoughts?
Well, we've all worshipped at the altar of growth for a long, long time, and indeed, when I was lieutenant governor and governor, and even when I was in the state senate, I mean, we did everything we could to have laws that would encourage businesses to come, to encourage businesses to flourish. It's businesses that create jobs and the quality of life that people want in Idaho, and we worked really hard at that. Right now, we're living in an unprecedented time of prosperity in America. I've lived a long time, and I've never seen anything like this before. You don't read about it, you don't hear about it, because the national media hates Trump so bad that no matter what happens, they will put a negative spin on it. Anything good that happens, it'll get buried. But you look at the statistics on unemployment, on consumer optimism, on on household income increasing. We've never seen times like this before. I mean, we are at virtual zero unemployment. I mean, they say that they give a low number of percentage of unemployment, but go out and try to hire somebody. I mean, it's anybody who wants to work today can work.
Right.
If you don't want to work, you don't have to work. But anybody who wants to work can work today. So that's and we are on the cutting edge in Idaho. The really good places in America to live are getting scarcer and scarcer, and we know, those of us that have lived in Idaho for a long time, understand what we have, and now we're being discovered. Unfortunately, along with it comes traffic. I mean, the traffic is just staggering. I remember when I was an Ada County prosecutor way back in the 70s. I'd get up in the morning, drive to work, go home. There was no freeway or anything else, but there was also no traffic. You know, there was no traffic jams or rush hour. But it's like everything else in life. It's got good stuff and bad stuff about it. But the politics aren't changing that much. You know, the polling that you see, the largest influx we have is from California. But the people that are coming from California are a lot like us. They're coming here because of what we have, and they want a piece of it. And God bless them. We're all Americans. And
if they just change their plates, everything would be better.
Yeah, that's right, I suppose.
Senator, a quick hits, because we know you're very busy. We appreciate you coming in.
Sure.
Every year you stop by to see us. We appreciate that, sir.
This is a great venue, by the way, the Phoenix Park Hotel.
Very
most
nice.
people, it's kind of it isn't off the beaten path, but people kind of ignore it. But it's a historical place, and
right down the road from your place.
Yeah, really, not far.
Not far. The state of the world we're living in today, whether it's North Korea, whether it's Iran, you know all about this stuff. There's very limited things that you can tell us. Your thoughts.
Well, we live in a world that constantly spawns despots that try to do bad things and want to do bad things, and we're certainly in that place today. The good news is we have a commander-in-chief that when he says something, they believe it. You know, the media is dying for him to fail on North Korea, but you'll notice North Korea has not launched any new missiles. They haven't done any new nuclear tests. In fact, the president of South Korea came back yesterday from meeting with Kim Jong-un, and he said Kim Jong-un reiterated his want to completely denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. You know, I mean, these are great victories for Donald Trump. You remember where we were headed with this over the last presidency. I mean, Kim Jong-un just kept pushing the envelope. Well, they know now they have a guy that won't tolerate that sort of thing.
Right.
So we're in a good place right now as far as most of this stuff is concerned. But it's like the laundry; it's never done. You know, I mean,
it's job security.
Yeah, that's true. But look, this is still the greatest nation in the world by a long shot. We have challenges. There's no question about it. There's people that are getting on the stage with us. We've been the 800-pound gorilla solely for a long time, but there's other people that are advancing now, and they've done it by copying what we do. So that's flattering.
Senator, we got about a minute left, and we want you to go see our friends in Idaho Falls. They're always great job.
True.
They do a great job. The president, he seems to be he's under siege. All these negative stories. You work with him. You know him.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. First of all, he's a fun guy to be around. I mean, you don't see that. You don't see that in the media coverage of him. But this man tolerates this stuff, this constant pressure, better than any human being I've ever seen. I mean, for him to be able to get up in the morning and do his job, and he has a pack of dogs at his heels from the time he gets up in the morning till he goes to bed at night, assuming he ever does go to bed.
Right.
But he tolerates the stuff very well, and it's every human being is different. My friends on the left have been telling me for years, listen, we need to tolerate diversity. We need to tolerate difference. We can all agree we've got a different president,
right?
But they don't like this kind of difference. They only want their kind of difference, So, but he's doing the job that he was elected to do, and there's, like I said, with what's happening in the economy, if people will vote on the economy as they always do, he's going to be just fine.
Senator Rich, it's been too long. Thank you, sir. Stay out of trouble,
Good
sir.
to see you. Thanks
Good to
for
see
having
you.
me.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for being the co-host.
Glad to be here.
Take care. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres, which is the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz, who is President Trump's personal lawyer. Have you had any conversation about Robert Mueller or his investigation with anyone at that firm? Yes or no?
Well, is there a person you're talking about?
I'm asking you a very direct question, yes or no?
I need to know I'm not sure I know everyone who works at that law firm.
I don't think you need to. I think you need to know who you talked with. Who'd you talk to?
I don't think I'm not remembering, but I'm happy to be refreshed, or if you want to tell me who you're thinking of who works.
Are you saying that with all that you remember, you have an impeccable memory? You've been speaking for almost 8 hours, I think more, with this committee about all sorts of things you remember. Yeah. How can you not remember whether or not you had a conversation about Robert Mueller or his investigation with anyone at that law firm?
And there we have it yesterday, Senator Kamala Harris talking to Judge Kavanaugh. Good morning, Kevin Miller. Blessed to be with you in Washington, D.C. We'll take your calls now until Glenn Beck, then it's Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, who'll be broadcasting from here as well. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, of course, we have the Judge Kavanaugh story. And then there's a story that, as I've said before, even Laura Ingraham said it, just shut up and dribble when it was referring to these athletes going crazy when they're yapping about social justice and politics. If they want to get into politics, I think it would be great if they, got on the radio and did their own thing. We look at sports, we look at entertainers. It's like Bruce Springsteen. Hey, boss, I don't care what you think about the national deficit. Please just play Born to Run. That's what we're paying you for. And then we have this situation with Nike. And yesterday we got into it fairly deeply where people were going, well, Kevin, Nike's from Oregon. They're all liberals. Look, Nike's a great American success story of Phil Knight and all those other folks. And I'm thinking, what is it? Swoosh. That's it. Swoosh, the unauthorized story of Nike and the men that play. They're one of the best books that I've ever read. And I haven't read Shoe Dog. I've purchased it. And much to Mrs. Miller's chagrin, that joins the pile of books that I've bought and haven't read. But the thing about Nike is they were always about change and rocking things. And I think this time they've gone too far. And not only are they going to impact themselves with their stock tanking, not only are they're going to impact the NFL with their negative Colin Kaepernick ads, because they have a new ad campaign, if you don't know, featuring Colin Kaepernick, but they're going to impact all those colleges that are wearing Nike, right? Think about how many universities, maybe some universities that you like, maybe your alma mater wears Nike. And it won't be Kevin Miller, but we'll give the liberal media the idea. Of course, I don't know if the liberal media will ever take a look at this, but, if your college is wearing Nike, does that mean that they represent the values and views of Nike? I can think of one team locally that wears Nike. Will anybody in the media have enough guts to ask them? Do they support Colin Kaepernick and Nike? Now, I know what you're saying, Kevin, that's unfair. Boise State football has nothing to do with Colin Kaepernick and Nike. In fact, Colin Kaepernick played the game of his life and cost Boise State a chance to go to the Rose Bowl, as we know, and possibly the national championship. However, if you're not going to separate it, then everyone wearing Nike, do they support Colin Kaepernick? More on that in a minute. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
Larry Gabbard.
Thank you, Larry. That is good news. And I can see a bunch of kids getting sucked into a vortex that Nike irresponsibly created. Speaking of which, Liberal Steve joins us now with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
When it comes to taking a knee, Miller, what does Nike say? Just do it. Yeah, they have the right to take 100,000 knees if they want. And, the president should keep an eye on the vice president if he's leaking stuff like stories to New York Times. Come on. And you had Crapo in your car seat, and you didn't even say to him, hey, Crape, Liberal Steve's got hemp coming into Idaho now, and you voted it out in 05. What's going on? Oh, and Kavanaugh, I predict, you heard it here first, will resign before October 1st in his position of being accepted.
All right, words to live by, Liberal Steve. God bless. Ray Amaya, great job. Everyone, can't wait to see you soon. God bless. Keep the faith. Fox News is next. Good morning.